There's something just wrong about these police guys now with camera. They're like, it's almost like they're a porn director. I didn't really mind it too much when they had those body cameras on them, you know. But now they've got like a dedicated filmer. It's like they're a little filming crew making a little movie set. And it's almost like the thing in a film is that you are, a movie is being, everything's kind of organised and planned so they can go get everyone in and then film it to record it. In life, circumstances aren't always under your control, so you don't know if someone's going to come out in front of you, or you don't know if whatever's, you know, and the whole thing when, you know, something happens and then you've got to just react. You don't really know, you might not know how to react or what's going to happen at any point in life, really, right? And the fact that these police might spring on you and pull this camera out, in a movie, there's a script and the whole set has been rigged and laid out. This is why it's bad with the whole illegal cameras set up when they set up all of the cameras around at the enforcement sites all around England. They set the camera enforcement sites all around England and put illegal road signage there on purpose. So they knew that people were going to be coming at certain speeds and not see it. And they knew the flow of the road has got a certain natural speed percentile that's been worked out. And that's how it worked. That's how they managed to mislead and trick people. And they had the camera van waiting there. So they knew that what you were going to do. And they were only there on certain days because people were doing it every day. And then on a certain day, they pull the camera out and say, oh, you're all criminals, right? When everyone were doing that every day. But also the fact that they put the signage up to mislead and it was all organised, that's a true racket. That is racketeering, using fraudulent and misleading signs, in order to extort money from people, and actually they were using demands. They were sending letters out and making people claim, or else they would take court action. That's basically threatening. They were threatening. When there's a threat, even a legal threat, because of the element of fraud in there, they were using legal threats against people to obtain money, right? If you don't pay this fine, we will come and take your car, we will come and take your house, you could go to prison. The fact that it had an element of fraud in it, the signs weren't lawful, and the roads didn't have the correct traffic regulation order placed on them. Once you have that fraudulent element in, and then you are, no matter whether the court proceedings, but this is the thing, they're supposed to have people to check it, record it. They've got people filming there every day. They had inspectors going out checking them, but it was set up fraudulent. So that the police are a true racket. The police were a true racket, with the council helping. It's organised. You've got the local council going out and setting up like the movie. Like in a movie, you go dress the set. So the council will go dress the set, the contractors, right? And then the police will go spotting for spots. Where can we set a speed trap up? Even some of the magistrates were involved in the process of choosing the sites and even setting up the things. So when you went to court, you know, when you were challenging them on illegal road signage, you might have been that magistrate might have known all about it and been involved in it. So now in America at the moment, they're doing a political action, Stop Cop City. And they are actually... all the protesters in this Chris Carr, the Attorney General, is attempting to prosecute the protesters for racketeering when you're meant to be protected politically. It's not commercial or for profit or money. With the police aren't doing a political action to government to get a law made or changed. They're actually fining people, you know? And the immunity, it never was intended for police. The political immunity was never actually intended for... the police. It was or the judges. It was actually intended for people who were bringing the petition. So you know, in America, that Attorney General Chris Carr. You see, if they're claiming you can use racketeering on political actions, then you know this Robert F. Kennedy's saying the election's rigged at the moment, where they're setting the electoral system so even if he wins a larger percentage of votes, he won't get through Robert F. Kennedy. So, why ain't he, he should be calling racketeering charges on that. If they can use it in politics against these protesters, they can use it against Biden. But I just thought I'd mention that because it's worth knowing. But going back to the police, look at this. These guys are despicable. You see this poor guy. How many police officers has this poor guy got around him? How many police officers do you need against one man? An whole team. We haven't actually seen what's happened yet. Apparently, he tried to run down some protesters or something, right? Now, I'm not sticking up for him. I'm not saying that he should run the protesters down or not. What I'm saying is... look at this guy. Oh, you got your own story, you're under arrest, He's loving it. It's the reeling in the job, these police guys, when there's just much of life. Fair enough, like, there's a video from the other day in Leeds City Centre where some people just rock up in a car, get out and start breaking into a jewellery shop in broad daylight in front of the whole busy street, and people just, like, don't really know what to do about it. They just break into the jewellery shop, nick the jewellery, they got balaclavas on and so forth, and then they load it into the car and then just drive off. The car's even got number plates on. Shouldn't these police guys be doing things, to stop that? I mean, I've got the video for it. I can show you. You can probably find it if you type it in. It's on Crime Stoppers, actually. It's on the Crime Stoppers website this week. If you look at it, now that is the sort of thing you need 8 police officers, to turn up. But, none of the citizens are doing anything. Why aren't the citizens, are they too scared to engage? The police tell them, don't do anything, don't get involved. But yeah, you've just got a guy just sat on a moped. I mean, he didn't plan for the protesters to be there that day or anything like that. It just happened to him in life. And how many police officers are we paying? But the porn star guy.
Right. So you think they're male defensive? Anything you do say, maybe give them.
Oh, shut up! Anything you do say. He's filming it. Why do you need to read him his rights out?
Okay. Time of arrest is 11:01. You can take your helmet, take your stuff, take your gloves off.
I want to rewind this, actually. Someone just said you need...
I'm allowed to film what I want, mate. I'm LEO Inspector. I film what I want. It doesn't matter, bro. I'm LEO Inspector, bro. I film what I want. There's no law against that, bro.
So what the police are doing now is they're trying to get this other guy from stopping filming, right? They're trying to tell this other guy to go away and stop filming. And he said, I'm doing what I want, right? So the police actually truly believe in their mind they've got a right to obtain evidence on site, film something, right? And no other person does, right? So this video that we're actually watching now wouldn't even exist, and we wouldn't actually have the evidence if this gentleman hadn't been filming, right? So that suggests that the police, really their attitude now is that no defendant has a right to a defence. No defendant has a right to any other citizen, person, witness, solicitor, lawyer on their side obtaining the same evidence. That is despicable. It's so atrociously despicable that it makes me sick. It actually makes me sick, these people. The police are organised criminals. The police are organised criminals, and what we're doing is we're assisting offenders. They're offending on a daily basis. The police break the law. The police are career criminals. We have enactments. The police don't have any political immunity for Bill of Rights, right to petition. It's actually explicitly I thought it was for bringing cases to government, like, any proceedings, whether or not criminal court level, magistrate court level, crown court level, high court level, or political cases to government. It turns out that it actually was, the immunity was explicitly and specifically created for petitioning the government, local council or government, for changes in law or legislation, us, the citizens, and because our elected MPs are engaged in those proceedings in Parliament and debating the matters, them as well, while they're in Parliament, right? While they debate and argue and talk about it. Because it's one proceedings. But it's actually not for criminal proceedings. And it's not for civil proceedings. So the police are, it's not the police's immunity. So therefore, as far as I've read, and I've read a lot of acts now, there is no immunity of judges. As far as I've read, you show me an act of law where the judge's immunity is, or the CPS. There isn't any. Now, as far as I've read, I don't think there is. Now, the police, in legislation, it allows certain acts to be done and certain things to be done in the pursuit of crime, or if you're a police officer. But, for example, in the Criminal Law Act 1967, if you are pursuing criminals or upholding the law, in pursuit of upholding the law, if any other person obstructs you or gets in the way, it's an offence, right? But you don't have to be a police officer. And so that means that the law is there for the citizens to uphold as well, not just the police, right? But what they do is they've kind of bullied us and they lie and they badger us to get out of their freaking way. So they could, we're doing the law, we're doing the law, we're the law, we're the law. No, actually, you're not. Now, this guy who's filming it, if he were to try and obstruct them or stop them arresting this man, maybe if they suspect, right, he might be breaking the law. But he's not obstructing them. He's actually gathering evidence, which he has got the right to do in defence of this person, right? So the police can't actually stop you filming, but the fact that they're wanting to stop us gathering evidence, they really want to stop this guy filming, but yet they've got their own porn star guy there, right? And they've got their own little fines set up, their own Ulez cameras they're putting up now. They're setting the movie set. Oh, camera here, camera there, and action. And then, you go around the corner, boo, you get fined, right? It's all set up, Now, that is what I don't like about it. It's got a rigged element of it. And the fact that Khan gets to choose, this Ulez thing and people didn't necessarily vote for it. I want to get that guy back on who's holding the camera.
No law against that. There's no law against that, brother.
You see, these police officers don't really want to be filmed themselves, but they're filming everyone else. I think this has come into effect because of all the protesting action and everyone's filming everything. So the police probably have had some cases against themselves, so they need evidence. But they've got those body cameras and they've had those body cameras, but probably it might not have been enough. But the thing is that these people who get charged don't always have a guy like this who is filming them in their defence. God knows what they're going to do with that motorbike, because the police always complain that they're not insured or they can't drive vehicles and so forth or move them, so they usually just leave them somewhere and get someone else to come and tow it or move it, which is kind of ridiculous, really. That is kind of ridiculous. I can remember when I got arrested for not turning up in court. I got arrested in, was it Stoke-on-Trent? Or it might be Newcastle under Line. And I had to go to the court. I did get released, actually, on bail. But, there was a possibility that, the vehicle basically was stranded. So the vehicle effectively was stranded, And it was really awkward because someone had to come all the way from Yorkshire to get the vehicle, but then someone else had to come and pick me up. So there was just the inconvenience of it all for everyone, you know. And it was legal to be prosecuted and arrested anyway. The whole thing was illegal anyway, because the whole proceedings against me were illegal. I like how he gets his, tells him to take his helmet off, so he has to reveal himself. All right, here we go now. This guy. This guy, look at this guy. He actually looks a little bit like, it looks like Navarra Media, doesn't it? This guy looks like it's Navarra Media. He looks a little bit like Navarra Media. This guy is despicable. You know, the thing with reading you your rights, this is like a legal angle on this, right? And this is with some experience of understanding and reading the law, right? When the witness, like whether it's a citizen and writes a statement, or whether or not it is a police witness, or any witness writes a statement, right? When you are being charged with an offence on evidence against you, whether it is like an object, fingerprints, whether it's a witness statement, or whatever it is, they say to you, right, you've got a legal right to silence, to not speak. That means you don't have to give a statement, or you don't have to say anything, right? But if you did say anything, right, or whatever you do, it can or will be used against you in court. And now notice how they don't say that, well, it won't be used to prove your innocence, right? That's the part. But this whole right to silence, like, I do not wish to say anything further. I do not wish to. So, at that point, if you choose not to move or not speak or not do anything, but anything you do say or move, so they pull this camera out. But even if you don't choose not to, in law, there's this aspect to it, and you can choose not to speak. So that means you're choosing not to omit, transmit, or do anything. I know there's things like resisting arrest, which is using your body movements and actions. So you've kind of got this, maybe like if you just chose to sit on the floor and not move, right? You know, sometimes they say like evidence of a failure to act is evidence of an offence, because if you, for example, if you fail to move out of the way, or if you fail to, you know, if someone is, there are some offences where a failure to act is an offence, like, you know, if someone might be hurt or trapped, or, you know, like if someone is dying and you fail to act, it could be assisted, you know, manslaughter, or I don't know, things like that, you know, like, you know. But there are situations where a failure to act is evidence of an offence, right? But with these guys here, with these guys actually getting a camera out and holding it and filming it like they're making a movie, in my mind, there's something. I know that, like, you know, you're still moving and you still might, like, you know, grab someone or do something physically. But if you choose not to move and not to speak, there's something about this, they can't compel you to speak. And there's this whole thing about if that wasn't the law, if you didn't have the right to remain silent anymore and you were compelled to speak, it's almost like that scene on 007. You know, when they put him in a room and they tie him to that chair and they cut the bottom out of the chair so his balls are hanging there, and then they swing that thing he swings that thing to hit him in the balls, to hurt him, to make him talk, to force him to talk. The Romans claim that the Celts used to do this. The Druids used to, compel people to talk, right? It's almost now like it doesn't matter whether you choose to remain silent and they're not like forcing you to speak, but they don't really need to beat your balls in to force you to speak anymore. Like, what if they could kind of like, make you talk, talk. How are they going to make you talk? Like, slap you around or what? It's the fact that if you choose to remain silent, which you've got the right to, and not give any more statement, they're filming so they can get evidence, which is effectively... Why are they filming? They're filming so they don't have to rely on the witness statements of the officers anymore. They're filming so they don't need to even rely on other people's footage. They're filming so everything can be relied on with the camera, right? So if everything is relied on by this guy filming it, this porn star, this porn director, if like a speed camera, you don't need any witness statements, you don't need anything. They send a photo and then they prosecute you. And that's the thing with Ulez. They take a picture of you, you went on the street, there's your reg. They're removing humans from it. They're removing all humans from it. So it's devices and machines going around. Now, that is, and even if you remain silent, you're not relying on a witness statement or witness testimony of a person who was there. So there might not have been any person there, it's just a camera. So it's effectively machines going around and measuring what happened here, what happened there, apparently with empirical precision without any need for any humans at all. And there's something wrong about that, because the law is meant to be humans going about business and laws that piss off other humans or affect other humans, and then those other humans complain and report them. But if no one's been annoyed, if no one's been offended or pissed off by it, like if you're driving down the road, and you're like 5 miles an hour of the speed limit, right, or 3, and there's no one else there, there's not really another person who you annoyed. Now, there's always that potential of accidents, but I'm talking about in the percentage of occurrences where there never was an accident. Oh, we're making it safer to reduce. Yeah, but I'm talking about the large percentage of instances in real life where nothing was going to happen. Nothing was going to happen. Okay, it might have or could have happened, but it didn't, right? And there's something about that, these machines following you around and filming your actions when actually you haven't actually caused anything wrong to anyone and you weren't going to, right? And it's this whole thing that, if someone steals your wallet or breaks your window or whatever, you have been wronged, right? And you're meant to have surveillance is meant to deter that. But there's something happening now where all these, these police dog camera things and stuff like that, these police dog ravagers, camera ravagers and so forth, it's kind of prying into, business and affairs when, there's just something not human about it. And these cameras aren't human. There's something human about Guy Fawkes going into Parliament and getting, barrels and, they're plotting to blow it up or whatever. And, they get, whether it was, that might have been rigged or staged, or they might have, set them up to do it so they could get them, Someone might have been in on it. We don't know for certain, but still, without any cameras, without any cars, without any mobile phones, without any... telephones, without anything, without a police force, it failed. And even though they ran away, they managed to track them down in Staffordshire or wherever it was and arrest them. The public without any police, without a porn star filming it, without a porn director filming it. There's something very human about that. There's something very human about the law there for... The law exists for citizens to protect the citizens, and the citizens can uphold the law. There's something human about that. If someone is wronging me, I've got a right to, offend. This assisting offenders, the police have got it written in the law, or anyone has in the Criminal Law Act 1967. If you're in pursuit of crime, preventing a criminal, you can. You're allowed, no one's allowed to get in your way, or you could, chase after them and so forth. There's something about that, trained or not trained, you're still human. Now, the thing with a robot is, a camera, a police, one of these new Ravagers, these new dog Ravagers, isn't human and never will be human, right? And there's something about giving a machine or a Ravage dog, a robot dog, because it's a police robot dog, then it's allowed to, jump on you and ravage you. There's something about that. They're even now making machines which aren't human. Even a police machine now is more respectable and valuable to the police than actually the humans that it's saving. And then us, a human being, a living piece of meat, a living human soul, religious, spiritual being, just because you ain't got a police uniform. The police don't think that you should be using the Criminal Law Act 1967, Section 3-4, or whatever, because you're not one of the boys in blue with a porn star uniform and so forth, right? This is one of these, Navarro media pimps, right? There's something about that. Who are these people in these uniforms? Who do they think they actually are? They're now getting these Ulez cameras, these speed cameras, these, like a camera head. And legally, they're actually going on the evidence of these things more than witnesses. They don't even need humans. So this is the fact that now machines are actually being more valuable in legal cases than a human. But even though there's a situation where a human's behaving or acting where there wasn't even going to be anyone harmed or at risk of harm. And there's something really wrong about that. I think we've transitioned into this, and the fact that, all these towns have been laid out by, the council, the police, the contractors, it's all been laid out, and we're going along. Humans used to ride horses for hundreds of miles, climb cliff faces, Ice Age, hunt mammoths and all these things. And now, a guy on a moped with a full protective helmet or so forth, we're being treated and regarded worse than babies. We're being regarded worse than toddlers. I don't think they trust us to walk down the pavement. People got these headsets on, music. They're listening to music. They're looking at the phone. They're not responsible from crossing the road, and the driver gets blamed. The pedestrian has right of way. There's something really going wrong with humans, regarding humans. You're on the phone when someone's annoying you, press block. Just Elon Musk meant to have removed blocks, but he's the one who's bringing all these robots in. There's something really contradictory about Musk's position. This guy is actually pure scum, this guy. This police porn director, making porn so in the court, they can get someone. Oh, you're under arrest. There's something, even though I'm on the side of the protesters a lot of the times, activists. I don't think activists should be run over, by mopeds and so forth. But really, people can move and get out of the way. Just these new police porn actor guys, these Navarro media pimp actors, there's something wrong about it. And what's wrong about it is when you think of the police camera van, a guy filming, like he's even got a chair, like a director's chair in the van. The camera's fastened to the van, and every time a car goes past, the wind every time a lorry goes past these police camera vans, they rock from left to right quite a lot. And if you actually have ever fastened something, the amount of movement rocking around is insane. If you measure it, I've measured it, and the amount of movement on the screen is ridiculous. I've got evidence of some of this stuff. And the fact that they planned it, they went and put the council went and changed the speed limit with consultation from the police, which is like a dual carriageway, 70 mile an hour. And they've got side roads with like bendy country lanes that are national speed limit, right? On blind bends, right? This is like, for example, at Bedford, like at the Sandy Roundabout at Bedford, for example. Beautiful place. There's a little petrol station there and a roundabout with some really high curbs, actually. It's all well protected. It's a beautiful place. I don't know if they've changed it now. I hope they haven't, because I really like it there. But the main dual carriageway, they reduced it to 50, right? When you can see there's obviously a roundabout there, but it's dual carriageway both sides of it. But yet the side road is national speed limit, or was for a long time. I don't know if it still is or not. So it just wouldn't be expected. And the dual carriageway isn't unsafe. It's not unsafe at all. And they actually got people when they were not coming onto the roundabout, approaching it, when they were leaving, after they'd been around the roundabout, back onto the dual carriageway, absolutely straight, 2 lanes. And they got this pimp there in a police van, pimping people, bang, bang. It's bad enough if it's a fine, like, £60 fine or whatever it is, £100 or 60. That's bad enough, but taking people's driving licences off them when there's a side road and a blind bend, national speed limit, country lane, and on the main road where it's absolutely straight ahead, straight as, wide dual carriageway. You've left the roundabout and back on a dual carriageway, 50 mile an hour, lower speed limit than the blind country bend off the side of it. Check this place out on Google Maps. It's Sandy Roundabout. That's just one of them. And the traffic regulation order hadn't even been changed at some of these sites. It was still the traffic regulation order legally setting the speed limit was actually still higher. But they put 50 signs on some of these sections of that A1. Not all of it, some of it. And that is actually fraud, because they're putting road signage that is fraudulent, saying it's 50 when the traffic regulation order is still national speed limit. That's fraud. And then they go put a guy there filming people who aren't expecting this, and actually taking their driving license, their right to drive from them, and threatening with court action when there's an element of fraud involved. And this is an organised network. That is true racketeering, because racketeering has to have an entire network, and there has to be many people involved, like, contractors, local council, police inspectors, chiefs. It's like Peaky Blinders, basically. And there has to be threat. If there's a threat, we will take you to court, you will pay this money. That is really the despicableness of these police. Now, the thing with the police is this, the police weren't invented until more recently, after 1900, they really, really developed the police. So, even in the Sherlock Holmes, period, as the police develops and grows. But then we get this Great Fire of London where Parliament actually burns. But that happened when there was a police force. How did it happen when there's actually a police force? They did better with no police force, with that whole Guy Fawkes gunpowder plot. So having a full police force in London didn't actually do anything to stop, prevent Parliament getting burned down at the end of the day. So it almost was ridiculous, having a full police force didn't really protect Parliament, because, someone tried to blow it up and they got stopped without a police force. And they even tracked them down and found them. Yet, even without any digital ID, without any passport, they could say they've got a different name and assume a different, character. Staffordshire or wherever it was is quite far away from London. They didn't even need any of those things. And now we've got these Mr. Soft kids' gloves, Mr. Soft, don't you take me to the land in which your living is so strange. You can't even walk down the pavement now without, be careful, be careful. There's something happened to humans. It's this whole flobberdom, McDonald's drive-through, just this ridiculous over-concern for safety. And actually, all the food that these companies have been knocking out has been actually harming, reducing sperm count, causing cancer, diabetes. It's actually more unsafe than walking down the road. He's having a diet of this food for so many years. There's something just wrong about the police now, because everything's turning into machines, and the fact that the councils and government can suddenly have a demographic of people like these people who are wearing, flat caps, or these people who are wearing boots, or these people who are driving old cars, or these people who are, having too many showers, or these people who are using too much electricity. There's a fact that some of the government can say, according to us, in law, you're all criminals now, but you weren't yesterday, but you are today because you're driving old cars, so that's criminal. But yet we made these cars, we invested in these car companies, we made money out of it, but you're criminals now. That's all Sadiq Khan sort of thing. They can just suddenly pick and choose without the people really actually voting on it. Like these people are criminals. Now everyone who's wearing, trainers are criminal. Now everyone who, smokes is criminal, right? And then they can get these pimps out to film it, make a film out of it, make a movie out of it. Yet what's ironic is people go to the cinema to watch films, to watch action, to watch Arnold Schwarzenegger ride off a Harley Davidson, ride a Harley Davidson into a river overflow gorge and be chased by a truck and, whatever. Yeah, all these protesters have got rights. You can actually paint in public on walls for political campaign in Class C. It's Class C and E and F together. And yet Max Hill is ignoring the exact acts of law which govern it. The Town and Country Planning Act and the statutory instruments that go with it. Those two acts actually explicitly are there to define the adverts and the use of them. In that scenario. But Max Hill, Director of Prosecutions, to put the nail in the coffin, he pretends it doesn't even exist. So he can get convictions out of people like Angela Ditchfield and say that she's a criminal when she's not. This is the Director of Prosecutions. And then we've got this Chris Carr in America trying to say protesters are racketeers. So I think the police now they're not our police. It's like Sadiq Khan's police force. It's like it's Rishi's police. They're police, the Parliament's police. I don't think that they're here for the people anymore because they're going after people who are going about normal business. And the thing with that is that, with this whole petitioning business and right to petition, we aren't really having to say or vote in these things. Actually, some of the councils have been giving the police fines for these new Ulez vans being parked around everywhere. And I kind of like that. It shows that there is some opposition to it, some council authorities. But the Petitions Committee in Parliament commit fraud on a daily basis because they claim, you can't petition about this or you can't petition about that 15-minute cities when you can. They lied. And then they say, no, we don't know what you're asking when they do know what you're asking. So they're rejecting petitions unlawfully. And I don't think that actually, I don't think that they have any immunity in that sense because what they're actually committing fraud. And it's an organised system where you can actually, it's our organised system where we can investigate and bring evidence to get things changed, and they're obstructing it. They're blocking it through lying and fraud. And it's us who have got the protection. The MPs are meant to debate in Parliament on the matters that we bring to them. And it's where these political parties have taken over, almost hijacked our political rights from us and kept them to themselves. And that's what the police are really doing. The police are really taking our right to police the law from us, rendering us helpless, and then using it themselves and also against us. And that's what's despicable about it. The fact that the law is meant to protect you against crime, and you're meant to be able to use that law to protect yourself against crime. And I think that's a despicable part. The despicable part in it all is that the law is meant to be there for the citizens to protect themselves, really, against crime. You know?